On Tuesday, we find Jesus in this tension. And we all find ourselves in a very similar tension of the expectations that have been placed upon him and what's yet to happen. And we find ourselves on Tuesday in that same place. We know that Jesus is coming. We know that the resurrection is about to happen. We're going to be celebrating very soon, but it's Tuesday, and there's still some unmet expectations. Maybe in your life you feel the same way. You feel like God's doing something, but it doesn't feel like it right now. It doesn't feel like the miracle has yet happened. It doesn't feel like it's time to celebrate. You're in a holding pattern, a waiting season. And so on this Tuesday, we hope that you will find peace, you will find encouragement, but you'll also feel a little bit of tension in the story that we have with Yuri. So I had a conversation with him about some unmet expectations, some seasons of waiting in his life. And why don't we take a look at that right now?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ken. So what I do, I'm here helping with the online team. I do basically all the behind the scenes, helping with some moderating. I also help with the photography team here. So if you see me with a camera, be sure to smile.
Right. And then what do you do outside of volunteering? Like what takes up most of your time?
So outside of volunteering, I'm definitely a full-time entrepreneur. I have a drone marketing videography business, as well as a couple other businesses here and there. So just working, trying to stay busy.
Yep, very good, very good. Well, I think as we invite people into this conversation with us, we're going to be a little raw, we're going to be real with who we are, but again, our goal is to help you figure out, where you fit in that story and the story of Hope Week. And in this unfinished expectations, you and I were talking a little bit about how life can hit you.
Right.
And in the moment, it feels like, I don't know how I can get past this.
Absolutely.
And then when you look back, though, you kind of see how God intertwined and moved and worked on your behalf and brought you hope in a season where there seemed to be no hope.
For sure.
For Ashley and I, we tried to have kids for 7 years. We had 2 miscarriages.
Wow.
And in that season, it was very difficult to see past anything. It was very difficult to have hope.
Yeah.
Our expectations were to be parents, and to have those expectations fail twice over a 7-year period, devastating.
Absolutely.
But now we have 2 kids, and we look back, and it's almost like, oh man, God clearly had everything in place. He knew what he was doing.
Yes.
How do you find it? Tell us a little bit about your story as well, and here's a couple of instances in my life where I didn't necessarily see that that's where it was going, and how God kind of showed you hope through it.
Well, God has definitely been working in my life through all my years right now. But most recently, definitely with when COVID hit, I was living in New York City and working there. And during that time when COVID first hit strong, shut down the entire city. Nobody was working, so I definitely had to move back home, back to Raleigh area. So, and it's just been work in progress. Just trying to continue to move forward.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. You left here. You've obviously got expectations. New York City, big city life.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna go and make a name for myself.
For sure.
And then how did you kind of struggle with, it was forced upon you, right? It's not necessarily your choice to move back home, but kind of forced upon you because of extenuating circumstances with COVID and everything else. How did you mentally, emotionally kind of cope with the unfinishedness of that season?
Well, honestly, I've been an athlete all my life, so I've been spending most of my life trying to make things happen on my own will and my own merit. And basically, recently, through the past years, God has just been showing me how to take time to rely on Him, lean on Him, and He'll be able to help me through and guide me.
Yeah. So you played D2, right?
Yep.
What
Division
position
two.
you play?
I play cornerback.
Okay, cornerback. All right. So, those expectations, I think sometimes in sports, like you said, relate back over to life.
Right.
Where you go, okay, well, we had expectations of a championship, or I have expectations
Exactly.
to play at a higher level, or
Exactly.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then you go, okay, well, this is reality. That sets you up a little bit for that, but there's still a gap, I think, when you come home, when there's a different reality. You're almost restarting, resetting.
Yes.
You still kind of feel like that, right? A little
Yeah.
bit. Or
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, you're in kind of this constant scrape and claw.
It's always that resetting mode.
Exactly.
It's always go.
So feeling or knowing, even living in this current unfinished state,
Mm-hmm.
how do you find hope in that?
Right.
And where do you find hope in that?
Well, ultimately, there's a verse in Psalms that said, in His Word, I find my hope, and God, He's that's a good thing about God. He's always there. He's there in the bad times. He's there in the good times. But like we were saying earlier, hindsight is 20/20. When I look back on my life personally, you just see God has His hands in different areas, in different ways. And honestly, just being here to tell about it, tell my story, tell other people that they can find hope in God as well.
Yeah. What I love about, this week, and as we continue to share stories, inspire people, be creative, and as Jesus walked through this week, there were unfinished expectations for Him.
Absolutely.
There were unfinished expectations when it came to people around Him that had laid expectations. They expected Him to be king. They expected Him to be this conquering, hero.
Yeah.
And we all know the story, but the people that, again, were in it, right? They didn't know what they were getting themselves into,
Right.
kind of thing. I think some people, if we fast forward and kind of apply that to modern day, when you're going through something, anybody that's out there watching, they're going through something, it's unfinished. Maybe there's expectations that haven't been fulfilled. How would you encourage them to keep going?
Well, for one, just being real, as believers, Jesus, He's set the example for all of us.
Yeah.
His life on earth was exactly that. And if He went through things, we can expect to go through things as well.
Yeah.
But society just puts this pretty picture in front of us.
Yeah.
And so we think that we don't have to go through things. So just a reality check sometimes is that we're going to have to go through things, and that God will not put us through anything that we can't handle.
Yeah.
With His help.
Yeah.
So just continue to grow your relationships with God.
Yeah.
And He'll be able to guide you and lead you. He's always there for us every time.
I love hearing Yuri's story and just finding out that tension, feeling that tension in his life of the unmet expectations and what's yet to come. And I want you to take a pause for a second away from Yuri's story and think about your story. Think about the unmet expectations. Think about the tension that you may feel in your marriage, in your job, as a student, in the season of COVID that we've been in. Whatever it is that you may be feeling, that tension of it's not yet finished. We're not there yet. Whatever you may be feeling, I want you to find hope in Christ, because Jesus knows the end of the story. Jesus knows that it's just now the middle of the week. Jesus knows that Sunday is coming, which means hope is coming. So I want you to take heart and take hope in knowing that this is just the middle, and we're still a few days away from the celebration.